Shawty suck my dick in the bathroom. Whoa, then she pop Zanny in the bathroom. That's what them rats do. I'm moving past two. Nigga come.
The reality is that you're probably walking around with elite genetics, possibly as dominant as the King Ronnie Coleman, without you actually knowing about it. Because a lot of people live their entire lives and die without knowing their God-given gifts. Who? Someone out there is the greatest basketball player of all time, greater than Mr. LeBron James, greater than Mr. Michael Jordan, but for some reason found themselves in a different career field and have no somewhat interest in basketball. And this is just how the game goes. There are people who are incredibly talented but just have no passion for the place that they have talent for, the place that they have talent in. Yeah. So what I'm overall yapping about is that you might have elite genetics in the overall bodybuilding field without you actually knowing it. In this video, I'll be giving you a full blueprint, the best video ever, I can say confidently due to the packaging, whereby you're able to assess whether you have bad poop genetics or god tier genetics. Because in the previous video right there, I did promise that I'll deliver the full blueprint on it if the video got to 20 likes, which it did. So shout out to whoever supported the video. So let's get to it. Before we get into it, make sure you like the video, drop a fireball emoji in the comment section, and follow me on Instagram at Scoby. The gym rat link is in the description. So let's get to it and stop fucking yapping, you know. So before we can get into clavicles, muscle insertions, muscle bellies, all those traits that actually determine how elite your genetics are, we have to first yap about the 3 body types which make up your physique. So here we go, okay? Number 1, ectomorph. These are the 3 body types. Number 1, ectomorph. Number 2, mesomorph. And number 3, endomorph. Not indica, okay? Not smoking the Indo. Endomorph, to all the stoners in case. So the reason why I'm overall breaking down the body types first, because the body types make up how the overall insertions look on you, how the overall genetics look on you, how good it looks on your frame. For example, for clarity, if you are ectomorph, okay, let me just get a pen real quick. So boom, we're back with the overall pen. So touching back previously, as I was saying, is that each overall body type is different, which means that each genetic trait will look different on each body type. Having wide clavicles, aka broad shoulders, aka whenever you sit in the car in the back seat, people are complaining that you're taking the space even though you're not freaking fat. That's wide clavicles. So wide clavicles on an ectomorph will look outstanding in their body type, in their body structure, because it'll bring out this aesthetic appeal. Okay, they're usually skinny, they're usually tall, and adding broad shoulders to that, amazing. A perfect example is David Lade. So as I said previously, that each body type looks different, which means that each genetic trait will look different on each body type. Some body types just can somehow pull off a lot of genetic traits amazingly, and some body types just, you know, they cannot pull it effectively for the good perfect physique. Okay, so right now I'll be ranking the 3 body types in the tier list, okay, which is ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. So let's get to it. Ectomorph, let's get to it. What does an ectomorph usually look like? So the overall traits of an ectomorph is a narrow frame, small joints, long arms and legs. Usually ectomorph really have a disadvantage in having insane bicep fullness, you know. They don't have that crazy size to their biceps due to the long arms, which is a disadvantage. Not all of the ectomorphs have long arms, okay. I need to do my research to prove that ectomorphs have long arms, which put them at a disadvantage for having insane crazy bicep genetics. They have lower body weight, they have lower body fat levels. I bet you all the friends that you know who are ectomorph skinny, they're always lean. Okay, they're always lean, they have low body fat levels, which is a very good starting point, but the negative side of it is that they struggle to gain freaking weight. Every skinny friend that I have always complains to me on the call like, hey dog, skibidi, I'm struggling to fucking pack on some weight, I don't know how to do it. Just fucking dirty bulk, dog. Simple like that. If you're struggling to gain weight, and eat more calorie dense foods. Okay, so the overall ectomorph is just a stereotypical skinny guy with a big ass dick. So yeah, why ectomorphs have amazing freaking physiques. Okay, a lot of elite athletic physiques like David Lade and some other, that black guy on TikTok who looks like Travis Scott, they all started off looking ectomorph. Okay, because the overall blessing of being an ectomorph is that they are blessed with low levels of body fat. And when you have low levels of body fat, you're able to see the detail in the fucking muscle, okay, see the detail, the shape. You don't have to worry about getting fat, dude. You're always looking ripped, dude. That's literally the goal of overall fitness, dog. It's just looking fucking ripped as fuck. That's literally the goal, dude. Looking ripped as fuck. But the problem here, the yin and yang here with ectomorphs, is that yay, they look ripped. You can see the muscle fibers, and they can just maintain sub 10% body fat year round without, wrecking the overall hormones or sex drive. They struggle to gain mass. That's the downside of it. Okay, muscles look amazing on ectomorph, but the problem is that they struggle to gain that muscle. It takes years. I'm not saying all of them. Some people have crazy fast muscle building genetics. Okay, I'm just saying ectomorph problems usually stem from struggling to pack on mass to that frame. But when they do, they look insane. So the only obstacles there is just trying to maintain that weight and not lose it overnight. But don't let this fool you, okay? I'm not saying everything is perfect for the ectomorph. There's still some flaws, and the flaws are this, okay? Many ectomorph people have longer fucking limbs, okay? They have longer muscle lengths, taller frames, and with being tall, it's hard for you to fill out your entire frame. It's hard, you need so much muscle to really look like you actually lift compared to a 5'4" short person. It's realistically true though. Like, ectomorphs are tall. Literally, my brother is ectomorph. He's tall as shit. Like, you cannot imagine or think of a 6'8" person that was born fat. I know, man. Ectomorphs are tall. That's just how it is. So yeah, that's just my overall claim. That's why they struggle to pack on muscle due to the height and overall spending more time to fill out the frame. They're just born tall. They're just born as tall human beings. So yeah, let me know in the comment section if you guys have ever seen an ectomorph that was kind of fat. I've never seen a tall fat person. Have I genuinely seen a tall fat person? Like, I've never really seen a tall fat person. Like, a genuinely tall fat person. Shit, because either way, it's like, how do you even get to that level, since when being tall is hard for you to really gain that much weight? So yeah, I gotta look at that. I never really thought about that, honestly, man. Overall best divisions in the overall bodybuilding world for ectomorph. I told you this video is the full fucking package, dude, so make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. So the best bodybuilding divisions for ectomorph people is men's physique, okay, classic physique, aesthetic bodybuilding, because the divisions are heavily rewarded with having insane V-taper, as I said earlier on. If you have a genetic trait of wide clavicles and you're ectomorph, you're gonna be killing in the over bodybuilding division. They also reward symmetry and a waist to shoulder ratio rather than sheer massive size like the open bodybuilding like Ronnie Coleman. So overall, ectomorph falls in B tier. B freaking tier. Let's move to the next one. Mesomorph. What does mesomorph usually look like? So the common traits is just natural athletic build, broader shoulder, moderate waist, easier muscle gain and easier strength gain, just somewhere in between. Alright, these are the people who often look like they train before they actually do, like Fit X Fearless. So for the mesomorph, they usually have the best balance of muscle gain, fat gain, recovery, and strength. Many naturally give the bodybuilder to display mesomorphic characteristics like Ronnie Coleman, also Jay Cutler. As I said previously, they look like they lift from the freaking start. Did I even say it in the first place? But yeah, they look like they live from the start. When you look at pictures of, you know, Ronnie Coleman in the beginning, Jay Cutler in the beginning, you could just see like, bro, do you lift weights? Even some other rapper who is mesomorph, I'm gonna put his picture right there. His name is SSG Splurge. Like, I used to wonder, like, does this guy lift? Okay, maybe I need to do more research. Maybe it's because of his overall how wide his waist is, which makes me think maybe it's just how wide his bone structure is. But I do think he falls under mesomorph. So yeah, their frames often support broad shoulders, you know, stronger shoulder to waist ratio, good muscular development. But the overall weaknesses of a mesomorph is that, you know, they're often portrayed as genetically perfect because of Ronnie Coleman, I guess, but it's not really the true thing, because mesomorphs can still have, you know, poor muscle insertions, poor lat insertions, poor bicep insertions, you know, wide freaking waist, you know, high clavicles. Okay, as I said previously, the frame can really, it gives you an open door, you know, and depending on how you are, depending on where you just landed, it'll determine whether your physique comes out perfect or not, due to the overall genetics you got gifted with. Okay, you're given the structure, and the overall genetic traits are just given by the Almighty God. You just hope for the best. Your child gets gifted with all of them. You know, some guys are ectomorph, but they genetically were not gifted with wide clavicles, you know. So as I was saying, this is just the overall foundation, not the full package. So just because you fall under A tier in the overall body type tier list section does not mean that you're a genetic god yet. It just means that you have a good foundation. You have good doors, possible doors. Okay, just because you have a good foundation does not mean the building will be built properly. Here are the best bodybuilding divisions for mesomorph. Okay, let's get to it. Men's physique, classic physique, and Mr. Open bodybuilding. Okay, so mesomorph falls under A tier because these are the people that you're competing with, like Ronnie Coleman and stuff like that. These guys are mesomorph, man. Take note, as I said, this is just the foundation. Okay, this is not the overall bricks, this is not the cement, this is not the construction workers, this is not the person that plans the overall structure of the building. Okay, all the genetic traits I'll mention are the stuff that I just mentioned, the tools. So take note, endomorph, not indica. Okay, not smoking, endomorph. These are typically the bouncer physiques. Okay, and endomorph usually have wider waist, they have larger joints, easier weight gain. Okay, they have easier fat gain, naturally stockier frame. That man, like, this guy would literally push me and I'll fly across the country, dude. So the strengths of overall endomorph is usually strong leverage. Okay, good strength potential, ability to build mass, dense looking physiques. And the perfect example of endomorph is Eddie freaking Hall, the overall king of strongmen, which is controversial, but you all know how his physique is built. Okay, you ask yourself, how the freaking hell did a person end up like that? I'm not disrespecting Eddie Hall, I'm just saying, how does a person end up like that? Seriously, dude, did he eat a lot to look like that? You know, because if endomorph had to, if Eddie Hall had to go on a calorie deficit, shred down, people would think he would probably look skinny. He would probably look like David Lade. No, his bone structure is not programmed for him to even have that shape. Literally, though, if he just loses weight, he'll just have abs. He still has that stocky physique because he's an endomorph. Overall weaknesses of an endomorph is that they have a big challenge with trying to pull off the aesthetic look. Okay, a wider waist naturally reduces the shoulder to waist ratio, even though you might have a wide width in terms of shoulder width and have a big blocky waist. There's nothing to save there. you're just done, dude. You're literally done with aesthetic wise. So this makes it hard to create extreme V tapers that everybody is kind of dreaming of in the overall classic physique. Tiny waist illusion, classic aesthetic lines. Just if you are endomorph and you're planning to look aesthetic, just accept that this is what God has given you and just move on. I'm not saying move on to jump off a building. I'm just saying move on to a different division and different goals, because endomorphs also tend to fight body fat accumulation more frequently. So yeah, the best divisions for overall endomorph is just open bodybuilding, mass focused physiques, or a strongman competition like Mr. Eddie Hall. So endomorph in terms of elite bodybuilding genetics falls under C tier in terms of bodybuilding genetics, not strength genetics, not powerlifting genetics, bodybuilding genetics. So now you guys have overall gotten the foundation from the three body parts: endomorph, mesomorph. These are the foundation, okay? But they're nothing. They're literally nothing if the overall tools, the components, the structure, and the planning is useless and dog shit. Okay? You can have mesomorph, okay? You can have mesomorph, but have the worst tools to build on it, the worst insertions, the worst bicep, So now we're getting to the overall tools needed to complete the overall building to be one of the best buildings ever, which is quite rare, I guess. Maybe it's not rare, there's probably a lot of genetic freaks walking around who just have no idea about bodybuilding, have no idea even if what bodybuilding even means, and they just found themselves in a different career field of farming, and they just could be the next 20-time Mr. Olympia. They are out there. All genetic freaks are out there. They just have no idea that genetic freaks. So let's get to it. So take note before we can get to this new tier list section, okay, which is skeletal structure measurement, right? These measurements can be skewed and not be as accurate due to the overall body fat levels. So for example, if we're trying to get your overall waist measurement, it wouldn't make sense for it to be truly accurate if you truly have a tiny waist due to the overall high body fat that you have. Okay, so just take note about your body fat levels. If you're leaner, okay, and you're at a normal body fat range, it is necessary for you to be able to measure without I won't say necessary, but it's more accurate than just being 30% body fat, measuring your waist. Oh, I'm doomed. You have to get leaner so you can truly have a good estimate. So skeletal structure. Okay, skeletal structure is the overall frame test. Before we can actually talk about muscle insertions or aesthetics, we need to understand the most important factor in your overall physique, your skeletal structure. Okay, this is the frame your entire body is built on. Okay, you can build muscle, you can lose fat, but you cannot change your overall bone structure. That is freaking impossible. Okay, so instead of guessing genetics, we're going to overall measure it. And please take note to the overall body fat disadvantage. So here's the news, is that I am not going to demonstrate how to measure it because I do not have an overall measuring tape. I'll just put some videos I find on YouTube on how to overall measure your shoulders and measure your waist right now.
Fuck, nigga. Fuck. Hell yeah, nigga. I see you, nigga. You fucking the hell out of me, bro. You fucking the hell out of me, bro. You are, nigga. I'm new, bro. I'm new to this.
Start by identifying the acromion bone on the left and right side of the body. Take the measurement from the outside of the left acromion bone horizontally across the upper back to the outside of the right acromion bone.
How to measure your waist circumference. Number 1, to clear the abdomen of all your clothing and accessories. Make sure you stand up tall, but do stay relaxed. At your side, try finding the top of your hip bone and place the measuring tape flat against the skin just above your hip bone. Make sure that the tape remains parallel to the floor. It should remain snug, but do not push it into the skin. Remember to breathe in and then breathe out entirely, and you do take the measurement at the end of your breath out.
You've watched the part on how to measure your shoulder width and measure your overall waist. Now let's get to the overall calculation. Calculating your shoulder to waist ratio to determine whether you're at a big leverage in terms of good genetics, okay, or a downfall. So here's the calculation, right? Let's say you measured your overall shoulder width, okay, and you got 46 centimeters. And then you measured your waist width and then you got 28 centimeters, okay, which is relaxed, not trying to tighten up your core and just act like and just be in delusion. Real actual measurements. And as I said, body fat can skew your overall accuracy, okay. Calculation here is that, hey, you want to take your shoulder width measurement, which is 46 as an example here, divided by the overall waist width measurement, which is overall 28. Then it's going to be equals to 1.6446. Then you're going to divide it by 28, okay, which will equals to 1.6446. You're going to divide it again by 28, which will equals to 1.64, which is your overall shoulder to ratio calculation final answer. If your shoulder to waist ratio not calculation, but if your shoulder to waist ratio answer is 1.6 plus, okay, this means your shoulders are significantly wider than your waist. Congratulations, this creates a natural V-taper even before freaking training. You will look athletic early on and aesthetic development comes very easier. So this 1.60 plus falls under S tier genetics. Let's say you got an answer of 1,45 to 1,59. That's a strong overall aesthetic potential. You will need, muscle development, especially shoulders and lats, but your frame supports an elite look, okay, which falls under A tier genetics. So those are the ratio of 1,30 to 1,44. You have an overall balanced structure, so you have no major advantage and also no major disadvantage. You can still build a very solid physique, but you need some muscle and leanness to just make it stand out even more, which falls under B tier. So let's say you fall in the 1.15 to 1.29. Your shoulder to waist ratio are kind of closer in width, which means that you need more muscle to create a visual contrast, meaning that you need some work to be done. You don't really have as much good shoulder to waist ratio genetic traits, so it's just a slight little downfall. It's not that bad. So this falls under C tier. So if you fall below 1,15, okay, in the overall measurements, your frame does not naturally create a V-taper. It's just the way it is. It's just how your genetics were just structured. That does not mean that you cannot build a good physique, okay. It just means you must rely heavily on shoulder development, lat development, and lower body fat, so that there's more shape and there's more cap to the overall delts. A perfect example of this is Fit X Fearless. I don't think the guy has lats. I don't know, like he has a straight waist. There's no V taper there. He has broad shoulders, but still, like, oh man, I don't see anything with that guy's physique. This is a perfect example of somebody that falls under a ratio of 0.15. I might have to look for pictures of him to see him doing an overall double bicep, so I can see how the V-taper actually looks for him. If it's still like rectangle straight, then oh man, that's just. But props to him, he is jacked to the fucking brim, dude. So shout out to him. And this falls under D tier. So do you guys clearly understand what I meant about that? You can have the foundation, but you can have the shittiest tools to build a building, okay. Let's say you're ectomorph. Yeah, there's a good, amazing opportunities for you to have one of the most aesthetic physique. And let's say you fell under the 0,15 shoulder to waist ratio thing. You see how much you're in a disadvantage? Literally, bro, just from your overall skeletal structure. So we are freaking progressing, right? So now we're in tier section number 3, the limb length and body proportions. Okay, see how we're progressing? First we started off with the body types, then we moved on to the skeletal structure. Now we're in the limb length and body proportions, and now we're gonna tap the like button because I am dropping straight fucking value. Let's fucking go, dude. So why the fuck does limb length and body proportions freaking matter? Because if two people, okay, have identical muscle mass, identical body fat percentages, and identical skeletal shoulder width, they can look completely different. And you know why? Because limb length changes how muscle is distributed visually. Okay, these are the people that just have long freaking arms, which makes it harder for the biceps to fill out, even though they have a lot of muscle on their arms. It's just harder to fill out due to the overall limb length. So here are the key areas we are ranking with limb length and body proportions. Okay, number 1, arm length. Okay, number 2, torso length, and number 3, the femur, aka the leg length. So let's get to number 1, arm length genetics. Okay, there's a lot of people that probably crash out on short people with short arms and be like, you only look jacked because you have short arms, that's why you fucking look jacked, you fucking cunt. I'm like, hey dude, why are you blaming me? I did not create you, and there's no reason to just be mad, bro. There's always a reason for something. What if that long arm, that's what I'm saying. Everybody has a gift from God that they have no idea. The reason you could be having long arms could be maybe you might be the greatest golf player of all time. I don't know about golf and whether your long arms correlate with having a good swing, but you get the gist. Okay, look at it in a different perspective. That what could it be for me to have such long freaking limbs? Okay, so for short biceps, alright, biceps appear fuller faster, less empty space between shoulder and elbow, and the muscle just looks very dense early on. I am a perfect example for this. I do have, I guess, short biceps, and during the years I had, not even a year of training, my biceps look so jacked because, first of all, I kind of do have short arms, and second of all, I have long head biceps. So it just gave this bicep a full freaking fitting. So here are the advantages of having, short moderate arms. You have faster visual hypertrophy, a better muscle pulp, arms look bigger at lower size. Like having a long head biceps, also short arms, like you don't even need so much time under training, bro. With just a few months of training, your biceps will look fucking wham without actually looking wham. So yeah, the best example of short arms is Phil Heath. Okay, I'm not trying to diss him, I'm just trying to tell you his overall limb length. Phil Heath, and he is the 7-time Mr. Olympia because his biceps are freaking gigantic. Phil Heath does not have long arms. Okay, so you cannot come at me and tell me, what the fuck are you saying? Are you telling me that Phil Heath's arms are freaking small? Bro. So short moderate arms falls at A or S tier. More distance from muscle to cover. Okay, arms look smaller at the same muscle mass as a person with short moderate arms. The reality check is that it's not just bad genetics for strength or growth, but visually you need more muscles to look the same size. Okay, progress appears slower even though it's actually faster. So man, it's just a tough spot to really have very long arms. The advantage though, okay, it's yin and yang with this shot. It's yin and yang with this thing, okay? Just because I did not mention the disadvantage of having short moderate arms doesn't mean there isn't. There is disadvantages. Life is about yin and yang. There's no good without bad, okay? So as I'm saying, the advantages of having long arms is that there's better leverage in pulling movements, okay? If you're Mr. Deadlifter, there's good potential of stronger deadlifts and pull potential. Long arms falls under B or C tier. So yeah, just because having long limbs puts you at disadvantage for having fuller bicep does not mean that you're not going to be successful in the overall game of fitness. You have longer limbs, which means that puts you in a good advantage of pulling insane deadlifts, having good leverage with your deadlifting. So have a good mindset with your overall situation, a good perception with your overall situation. Also the golf thing too, take note on that. You never know why God gave you those long arms, so take note of that stuff, man. Torso length genetics, okay? Your torso, your overall, the place where we all measure our waist, the torso, in case whoever doesn't know what a torso looks like. So short torso, right? What does it look like? I mean, it's kind of basic knowledge of what a short torso look like, but let me just say it either ways. Chest and abs look more compact. The V taper develops faster visually, okay? Waist appears smaller relatively to the upper body. So why is the short torso very elite? Muscle fills the frame quickly, okay? Even moderate muscle looks impressive, and a clear example is Phil Heath. The guy just has the perfect fucking proportions and limb lengths. Listen, as I said, this is just another tool. It's not the full picture, okay? You can have a short torso but have high lat insertions. But if you have a short torso and have low lat insertions like overall Kai Green, then you're killing it. So take note, this is just a part of the icing of the cake, a part of the, it's not the full cake, okay? Just little tools around there, little gadgets, okay, that do not make up the full picture yet. So take note. Long torso. I'm gonna be honest, whoever has a long torso, I am sorry. I am freaking sorry. Love handles are hard because like the torso is so high, and like with love handles you really want to be able to build your back, have a V taper to kind of put the attention away from the love handles, because you cannot really realistically lose your love handles because it's just more of a genetic fat distribution thing, where even if you lower your body fat, once you gain fat again, your body will still store fat at the specific area. So having a long torso and oh man, but hey, as I said, you never know why the world, the higher power gave you that specific body. It might be you might be the best fisherman for some reason. What if having love handles gives you a crazy leverage to just hook the fish and just snipe it back into the bucket? You never know, so change your perspective, dude. The problem with having a long torso is that you don't look dense. Okay, imagine Phil Heath with a long torso. You don't look like there's muscle everywhere in your body. You look like muscle is missing at that specific area, but in reality you just have a long torso. Muscle is not missing, it just looks like you have a lot of space to fill out. Having a long torso falls under B tier. Femur leg length genetics, which is something that's often ignored but very important for physique balance. Okay, so short femurs, let's get to it. The effects of short femurs: easier squat depth control, quads appear fuller faster, legs look denser early on. And with long femurs, okay, they have, the squats feel just more of a hip dominant thing. Quads often are harder to visually fill up, okay. Lower body may look longer and less compact. People with short femurs just look gigantic. Perfect example is Nick Walker. He has short femurs. The guy looks like a frog, and the legs are gigantic, dude. Like I'm listen. It's important for you to not beat yourself up whenever you're wondering, why the fuck are my legs not getting wider? But if you have long femurs, as I said previously, when you have long arms, you can still build the same muscle mass as me. But it just looks like you made no progress because there's so much room to fill out. Okay? There's so much freaking room to fill out, dude. So, no, it's not that you're training legs the wrong way. It's that the way your lengths, your limb lengths are, it's just harder for it to appear visually bigger. The world of bodybuilding is about visual and illusions. It's about illusions. Okay, the guy with longer femurs versus the guy with shorter femurs, they can have the same amount of muscle mass, but the other one looks skinnier. It's an illusion thing. It's not reality. They both have the same muscle mass. It's an illusion thing. It's about illusion. So please have peace within yourself. If you're wondering why the fuck are my legs just still skinny, kind of skinny as shit, okay, you just have very longer femurs. So for short femurs, you fall under A or S tier, and for long femurs, you fall under B or C tier. So if you guys have made it this far, please make sure you like the video and drop a fireball in the comment section, and let's freaking go. This is the fucking blueprint, dude. Who else is making in-depth content like this, dude?
Commercial break.
Look great, but you Olympic weightlifting background, powerlifting, like what you're doing. So going back to advice, to give to someone, just starting out from a physical standpoint, learn the movements, learn them with proper form. Everyone's heard this many times, keep your ego at the door, in check, make sure your form's on point. Get on a program, right? Where you could track your progress, because the way that you're going to progress is essentially progressive over, whether that be more weight, more reps, more volume. You want to, because a lot of people, they can go in the gym and they could just train super hard, get a crazy pump and feel like they're working super hard and I feel great. But the thing is, if you train super intensely like that all the time, you might burn yourself out. You might not be able to have recurring back-to-back workouts with that level of intensity. And you're kind of shooting darts in the dark.
You might be wondering why you're doing this.
Yeah. Because
this wavy.
Yeah, there's no linear progression. You're not tracking your progress in the sense. So compound lifts, do them with proper form, get stronger, and give it time. Is that when I started lifting, I was, ectomorph, super skinny, fast metabolism, poor appetite, right?
Yeah.
So I would just shove dirty, dingy, gringy, disgusting foods in my system. And
that was me too.
Yes.
Not good. Not a smart one.
I mean,
you could.
You can get away with it when you're younger. You'll be fine. You'll still be healthy. You'll be good. But recently, I've really changed my diet to just being much, much, much healthier. And I've noticed a ridiculous change, particularly mentally.
Yeah.
I would look back to voiceovers when I was 17 years old training, and I can't even form a sentence it's just terrible.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you could do it, if you could, start because the reason you get into fitness, is to be a healthier, better, stronger version of yourself, right? If you eat a bunch of shitty, horrible, wretched foods just to get your skeletal muscle to a larger size, you'll look like a healthy, in shape person, but you might not necessarily be the healthiest, right?
Wazar, we have made it. You guys just only see one side of the story, but just know that this is literally 4 weeks later. I know it's just crazy, but things just happen. It took me a long time to literally grab this video, but overall, where the fuck were we, right? We were at, so far we got done body type, skeletal structure, and limb length, and right now we're getting into muscle insertions, aka muscle bellies. So it's muscle insertions and muscle bellies, so let's get to it. So the section we are covering right now is muscle bellies and muscle insertions. Okay, so the muscle insertions is just where the muscle attaches, the attachment of the muscle, whether it's a lower lat, upper lat. Muscle bellies is just the overall fullness. Some guys have a full chest, no gap. Okay, just for a good clarity understanding before we can get into the ranking. So yeah, Hopefully you guys get it. Muscle insertions, attachment of the muscle belly, overall the fullness and the size of the muscle. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm not a full-on scientist and I'm still saying okay even 3 weeks later. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong to all the science heads in the comment section. So the first part of the list are bicep insertions. So with bicep insertions, there's long head and short head bicep. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about this. So starting over with the long head bicep is just, you know, where the bicep just looks way more fuller, and this type of insertion is one of the best, you know, because you can have so little muscle and still and look jacked. You know, I have a long head bicep and I really thought that I was doing something. I really thought that I was training hard, because like the first few weeks of the gym, like my biceps were like big. I'm like, what the hell? They were not big, but they were big at the same time because I had a long head bicep. So a long head bicep just naturally looks, you know, bigger, better fullness at lower body fat. It's just a strong 3D appearance because there's no gap in it. There's literally no gap in it. There's no gap. If you have a long head bicep, there's no gap between your elbow and your bicep, okay, which gives this fullness to it. But when you get the short head bicep, it's just like, it's an awkward look. Okay, there's a huge gap between your elbow, and it's like between your elbow and your bicep, and it's like it looks so awkward because there's this round ball just sticking out. It's just one of the biggest disadvantages. Okay, biggest disadvantages, because it's like you can have the same amount of muscle mass in terms of how much it weighs than a person with a short head bicep, but the one with the person with the long head bicep, but the one with the long head bicep will look far more buffer than the guy with a short head bicep, is because visually it doesn't look, you know, big. You know, bodybuilding is literally a visual game. Seriously, it's a visual game. The guy that looks more denser is the guy who's gonna be more shorter. Let's be honest, the shorter guys just like that buff and gigantic is because they have a visual advantage, even if you get a tall guy with the same amount of muscle mass. So yeah, it's a visual game. And with long head biceps, this falls under A tier, and short head biceps falls under B or C tier. Bazaar chest insertions. Oh, the big knockers. Okay, this is I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for this, but chest insertions are like the go-to of like literally saying that that's the winning physique. That's the winning physique, because it's like it's very hard to come across amazing good chest insertions, because if it was easy to come across that, then everybody will have a chest like Arnold, and we all know that Arnold has one of the most, you know, heaven sent chest ever. Even Ronnie Coleman said this. I'm not saying this because Ronnie Coleman said this, but like, look at it. The fullness is just insane. Okay, it's insane. No gap. It's like, what? You know, I think Joseph Biner, Arnold Schwarzenegger's kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I don't think Joseph Biner has the same chest insertions like Arnold. You know, it is very weird how genetics can slightly be transferred. You know, I would expect it to be 100%, you know, because it's like it's Arnold's kid. I don't think it's Arnold's first kid, is it? So I'm not sure. So let's get to it. So overall chest insertions, right? To really know if you have a good chest, you gotta see if you have a gap or not, because the game of bodybuilding is who looks more visually bigger and fuller, who has, they're looking for the shape. Okay, the shape, because like this is, I'm only judging this based off the bodybuilding standards, because this is just generally bodybuilding. Okay, in terms of attractiveness, that's a whole different story, but it's just shape. Okay, and when you don't have a gap between your chest looks more fuller, because when there's a gap, that means in that gap there was supposed to be room for muscle to be built there. So having a gap means you lost room to build more good shape into that muscle. Okay, I know this nigga had no gap and his chest just looked full, complete. That's the goal. The goal is to have the complete look. So if you have a gap in your chest, I'm sorry to break it to you, but your chest insertions fall under, B tier. I'm just had to break it to you. Okay, and other factors is just a more length to it, because some chest insertions they just they don't really they people don't really have good chest insertions. Then they just think, oh, my chest is big, it's amazing, but not taking consideration of the overall muscle belly and the muscle length. Okay, do you have the slope? Some people do not have the slope right there, that connection, that the separation, that look. What we're looking for the chest is a 3D look. If you don't have a 3D look, then I'm sorry to break it to you, you don't have good chest insertions. Okay, we're looking for the 3D look where your chest looks like a whole two big squares. Two big squares. Some people just struggle to get that. Some people build a good chest, but they struggle to have a separation. So yeah, it's just look if you have a gap in your chest and see how 3D your chest looks. Okay, how 3D your chest look and how the shape actually is. So in terms of specific details, like how your upper chest should be, I don't really have that much information there, so this is all I can give you. So hope you guys found that helpful. So let's move on to the next one. What are calf insertions? Okay, so there are two types of insertions when it comes to calves. There is low and high insertion, so you should be able to have a glimpse of what these are. Low insertions of calves means that your calves aren't as high in the leg area. It's pretty low, which means there's room for muscle to fill out. Okay, sorry. And high calf insertion means that your calves are more higher. This is just simple bro science. Lower calves, high. Okay, so yeah, with high calves it's just it's like it's impossible for you to have that full look. The goal is to have a fuller look, which makes it look denser, etc. And with high calves, it's like it's so high, there's no room to just pack on insane muscle. Even if you pack in insane muscles, like it's so high up. Same thing with the long head and short head bicep example. Okay, you can build as much muscle, you won't look dense and fuller. But with the low calf insertions, like there's just so much room for you to create those bolder freaking calves. Okay, so before you complain and say, why doesn't my calf have that arc in it, it's just your overall genetics. Because I've been brainwashed by content creators saying that, oh yeah, if you hit your calves in this specific angle, maybe is it true? Maybe it's not true, because it's like people have different insertions. The reason why that guy has a fucking sharp cap in his calves is because of his low insertion genetics. I have high-ish calves, so I won't be able to pull that off. My calves will be bigger. My calves have gotten bigger, but the shape isn't the same as the other guy. So yeah, you need to really look at your body and don't really fall in this trap of thinking that you look like your muscles will look a certain way by training it a certain way, because that's what I fell under. So okay, low insertions fall under A tier for calves, and high calves fall under C to D tier. No B tier, C to D tier, because high insertions with calves are very, very brutal. You literally look like a whole, like a whole praying mantis. So that's just the reality of it. What's up? Ab insertions, what you have been waiting for. Because let's be honest, abs get all the bitches. Let's be honest. Maybe biceps also, but let's freaking be honest, lean is law, bro. Lean is law. Why? It's not something that the average Joe can get, the average doomer can get. No, dude, the abs is not something anybody can get. First of all, you have to be ectomorph to have abs, and they say I have abs, bro, and they're like dead skinny. Second of all, you have to be at a low body fat, which means you have to train consistently, you have to eat right, get your steps in, sleep, have an overall healthy lifestyle. A lot of things put into the work, which is not easy, because the average Joe is literally tagging on like McDonald's and like Chipotle, just all kinds of things, so let's get to it. So there's 3 overall sections to determine if you have good ab genetics. There's the symmetry, there's the segment count, and there's the overall thickness of it. Okay, because the thickness just gives it the strong look, this fullness. Okay, the fullness. Well, overall chasing the fullness. No, I'm not making a disclaimer that I am an overall bodybuilding judge. I'm just giving you the overall rules of the game. I'm saying overall a lot, but let's overall get to it. So symmetry, okay, this is like the sweet spot when you have even abs. Basically the chocolate, a chocolate bar, that's what we're speaking about, where both sides, left and right, are actually even. People who have this are like gods, bro. Just straight gods. Like, who else had crazy symmetrical abs? Who's that bodybuilder I'm trying to think of? Flex Wheeler. Oh my days, just sharp. Because what we're really looking for in this bodybuilding game is just this aesthetic. Okay, aesthetic is controversial, but let's be honest, the root of bodybuilding is aesthetic, bro. The golden era, it's pure aesthetic. What do we all come to watch? Classic physique. Who is one of the most popular bodybuilders in today's age? C-Bomb. What is he known for? Dominating classic physique. We love visually appealing things. No hate to open bodybuilding. It's just who wants to be seeing gigantic guys like who are so high body fat and just like man, I'm not a fan of open bodybuilding. That's just my take. So this is just the chocolate bar look, where both sides are literally even. Okay, so if you have this part of abs checked, which is symmetry, you fall under S tier. S tier. No other way. There's no other way here. Having symmetrical abs, some guys' abs are just weirdly, they're not very symmetrical. They're not very even. The other part has the other ab so below, the other ab is up there, the other ab is like near his neck, the other ab is like behind his ab. Like, there's so many angles. So yeah, symmetry falls under S tier, and the ones that are not symmetrical fall under, A tier, in my opinion, because it's like having abs alone is still king. So I don't think there's any bad ab genetics. Abs just all really look good, unless you get like implants, then that's literally F tier, like Z tier, bro. That's straight up Z tier. So let's move on to segment count. Okay, so segment count is just basically the amount of abs you have, the pack you have in your stomach, the pack you have in your abdomen, whether you have a 2-pack, whether you have no, I don't think there's a 2-pack. I don't think 2-pack is real. I don't think 2-pack is real. Whether you have a 4-pack, 6-pack, 8-pack, yeah. So it clearly makes sense that the one with the better, with the more pack is the one that's at a higher rank in this list. So if you have an 8-pack, then you fall under S tier. If you have a 6-pack, then you fall under A tier. And if you have a 4-pack, you fall under B freaking tier. But in my opinion, guys, I'm just saying that abs in generally, they should all fall under S tier, because regardless of whether you have a 4-pack or 6-pack, it's still looks amazing. It still looks amazing. It looks amazing. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger had like a 4-pack. It looked amazing on him, So yeah, man, that's just literally it. The only bad part about abs is just having ab implants, which is just straight up dog shit. Do not get ab implants. Do it the right way. It's just do it the right way, man, because shortcuts, they feel nice in the moment, but they just make you feel like shit in the end. Like nothing feels better than working hard for something and you literally earn it. You're gonna feel so confident taking off your shirt because you earned that shit. You know what I mean? Like genuinely, dude, like you feel like the boss. So yeah, no shortcuts, guys. Take the long route. It's worth it. Waza. Now we're in another different category, which is fat distribution. So a lot of people really have no understanding about fitness in this game of fitness and this game of weight loss and fat loss, and they just jump into conclusions. You just say, oh man, like I ate what did I eat? I ate like this one breadcrumb, or I ate this one slice of bread, and now I'm fucking fat now, dude. Like there's just so much lack of understanding. That's why one of my goals is to really wake the whole world up, because they've been misinformed and brainwashed by all these companies trying to sell them, quick fixes which are not real. And the reality of it is that the path that's real, it's made to be seem hard when it's not even hard. It's not even hard. But enough yapping. We're trying to be the motivational like fat loss coach about everybody should wake up, like spot reduction is not real. Let's just cut this off and get to it. So fat distribution genetics, okay, what the fuck is it? So people tend to store fat in different areas more. Okay, people tend to hold fat more. Whenever you're going on a cut, you should not expect to lose fat full body one time. Expect to lose fat systematically, okay, one by one in each area. Maybe your shoulders will get leaner first, then comes your arms, then comes maybe your forearms get leaner first. You find that maybe your forearms get leaner first, but your back isn't lean. This is all genetics and fat distribution, okay. And let's say you hold on to fat more on your love handles, okay. That's like a whole different story of just holding fat there. But just right now, let's just stick to places that hold that are the last parts to actually lose fat, besides the stubborn love handle stuff. Let's just cut this stuff a little bit back, because that's a whole different topic which I don't want to address in this video. What kind of speaking based off bodybuilding wise, like a bodybuilder, not of a fitness coach trying to help some random skinny fat teen in India that's like struggling with love handles. No hate to India, I'm just saying there's a lot of the ICP and clients that I was getting at some point when I was making content about that. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, let's get to it. So the characteristics, okay, of fat distribution. So fat primarily stored in legs includes waist remains relatively lean, the lower stomach stays relatively flat, chest stays relatively lean. The visual effect of this is when even during a bulk, abs remain visible longer. There are people on a bulk that just still have abs. Like I be seeing videos of, oh, I got fat because of my cheat meal. The guy straight up has a whole visible 6-pack and is calling himself fat. But that's because of overall distribution. Some guys just tend to hold more fluff in their midsection, not because they're fat, it's because of the fat distribution. They could be at the same body fat, they could be the same body fat. One might look leaner because of his midsection, the other one might not. You find the one that looks leaner in his midsection holds on to more fat in his legs. You find that if you had to remove the pants, both pants, paws, other one that has a fluffier midsection has leaner legs than him. So who the fuck is actually lean? Okay, it's genuinely fat distribution, bro. Literally, bro. So the waist remains tighter, physique stays aesthetic year round. So this is a very elite one, whereby the characteristics are primarily just fat stored in the legs and glutes. Waist remains actually decent, and lower stomach stays relatively flat because a lower belly is just a one of the common places your body just stores fat. Just to survive. In case you just, I don't know in case what, but like just to survive backup emergencies of fat, because fat is energy. So yeah, not really having to struggle with lower stomach belly fat puts it a big advantage, because I'm currently in a maintenance phase, but I was just struggling to just lose that lower belly fat. Like my upper abs are getting leaner, like my shoulders are getting more rounder, but like my midsection was just like not going away, bro, and that's just due to fat distribution genetics. So this overall category falls under S tier. The next one with the characteristics is mostly balanced storage, some lower belly accumulation, mild love handles when getting fatter. This is just mostly a lot of us, including me. I'm not a very good person when it comes to just being very lean. I won't really say I'm a mesomorph, but I'm not a mesomorph, but like I'm not a lean person, okay? I'm not a lean person. Even my mom made me, because like this things create a whole belief system saying that your skin is thick, when in reality you just have a different set of fat distribution. So it's just weird the terminologies people have for certain situations and certain things. Like, oh yeah, you have big hips, don't worry. Like, though, when your grandma says like you have big hips because like God is gonna give you something amazing. That's just the overall conversations I would hear from grandmas. So this fat distribution category falls under A tier, because I don't think there's any disadvantage of fat distribution. Like if you go on a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. This is just telling you whether you're gonna be the one that lose weight incredibly fast, or the one that's gonna have to just deal with other body parts that are just like, okay, even incredibly fast is very controversial, but you get what I mean. Some parts, they take longer to get leaner than other parts. Simple. Take note, I'm not saying that fat distribution is a bad thing. It's just some people have a kind of a disadvantage. Some people have a bad advantage, because with fat distribution is about how you will look when you're at a higher body fat percentage. Okay, for me, and one of my close friends is that he has fat distributions at his chest, whereby he literally, whenever he loses weight, his chest becomes more defined, but when he gains back that fat, there's this puffiness at like this puffiness right between his I forgot, bro, armpit right there, whenever he gains fat. So yeah, it's just really about oopsie daisy, it's just really about how your body will generally look at a higher body fat. Some parts will still stay lean, some parts will just gain relatively more fat. So yeah, take it that way. And take note, I'm not gonna be addressing the gyno side of things, because gyno is not chest fat. Gyno is glandular tissue right behind the nipple, where when you pinch you can feel a big rubbery feel, okay? And when you have chest fat, it's just soft, and all you have to do is lose weight, and the possible consequences is just having excess skin, where your skin is just hanging. And so yeah, tough luck, man. Not tough luck like, oh yeah, but you get what I mean. It's not easy to recover from that, and because the only thing you have to do is do surgery. So yeah, make sure that you know that gyno is gyno and chest fat is chest fat. So this is the end of the video. I know I could have went deeper, but it's like, how deep do I want to get, like, about how, you know, trying to get like Arnold Schwarzenegger's like goon, you know, and put it into your wife and see if your wife could probably like have a baby with the same genetics and use the child to go like dominate the bodybuilding world. It's just, there's just levels to it. Forearm size, horseshoe tricep. I just need so much motivation to just truly go deeper. And if you guys want a deeper version, get this video to 100 likes. Hopefully this video gets to at least over, over 500 views. So yeah, if you guys found this video value packing, which I know it did, because there's no way everybody's watching this video is a freaking science nerd, like a whole Dr. Animal, like type of IQ. Nah. Most of you guys are literally just, you're not veterans yet. Okay, so I'm very confident that you did not know everything I just mentioned in this video. So enough yapping, guys. Peace out.
Bye, have a great time.